Hello, welcome to Slow Play. I'm the host, Mitchell. This is the co-host, Heather.
Hello.
Hello. So, you don't know who I am, so fuck it. I'm just going to jump right into the stories instead of introductions and shit. We're going to talk about news. We're going to talk about bullshit. Going to talk about whatever. How's that sound?
Pretty good.
Okay, thanks for the enthusiasm. First thing to talk about today. This comes from KOCO.com, or as we call it here in Oklahoma, KOCO. This is a Oklahoma City news station, and there's a big story going on in Oklahoma lately. This is actually a two-part story, so I'm going to go with the first part, and then we'll follow up on the update here. But this first story says, Appeals Court says Oklahoma women can go topless in public. It says, a federal appeals court ruling means women in Oklahoma and 5 other states can be topless in public. Fort Collins, Colorado, enacted an ordinance that prohibited women from being topless in public. The 10th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in February upheld a lower court decision that the ordinance was unconstitutional, but the ruling only became binding this month when Fort Collins decided not to pursue further appeals. Oklahoma City Attorney Noble McIntyre said Thursday that while the ruling allows women to go topless in places such as parks, public pools, even walking down the sidewalk, the ruling isn't as simple as it may sound. It is still against Oklahoma Municipal Code, Oklahoma City, and it's also against Oklahoma's state law, he said, explaining that women who go topless in Oklahoma could still be arrested and would have to argue the ruling as their defense. Yada yada, this goes on. So the bottom line of this story is that according to the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, women are allowed to walk around topless in 6 states, Oklahoma being one of them. Mm-hmm. And even though this Oklahoma City attorney here says that it's still illegal, according to the Court of Appeals, it is now, in fact, legal. So before getting further into down that road, where do you stand on just the part about women being allowed to walk around topless?
I am for that. I think it's a basic point of equality that a woman should not be able to be charged with indecent exposure for doing the exact same thing that a man can do. And there are a few cases, I looked it up, where women have been charged with either public indecency or indecency in their own homes under bizarre circumstances for walking around with no shirt on and no bra.
In their own homes?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, if children see you or if your windows are open, then
your own children or other children? Other children I would understand.
Even your own children. This woman said that it happened to her. They were her stepchildren. It didn't say that the children's mother was involved in any way, but someone had a conversation with one of the children where they said, yeah, our mom and dad were putting insulation in the garage or something, and they were all itchy and sweaty because it's,
sure,
summer. And so they came in and stripped off the coveralls that they had on, and she took her t-shirt off, and the kids came walking down the stairs at that point, and she kind of covered herself up, and then she was like, teachable moment. There is nothing wrong with my body.
I would agree with that, and I also don't give a fuck about women walking around topless in public for equality reasons, and then also just sexuality reasons. Like, we need to take some of the power away from the boob in general, like, for everyone's sake, for the good of everyone.
Yeah.
For women and men, it's like, for one thing, there's the whole part about shaming girls about their body and stuff, so that's not good. But then also it's just driving men crazy around the clock. Like, I would feel much better in my life if I weren't thinking about boobs all the time. And a good way to do that would be to desexualize the nipple. Like, and it's not going to take all the power away. I mean, I imagine that the bare male chest still has some sexual value to it. So it's still going to be a fun time, but it's like, we could all stand to maybe ease up off the boob a little bit. The boob is like ruling our society.
Yeah. Well,
every TV show and every commercial, it's like boob centric. Every magazine ad, whatever, it's like.
Well, there's a biological foundation for that, which is that people judge your fertility as a female mate by the shape of your body and how well endowed you may be. And so there's some of that cannot be erased, but we don't do everything that our biological urges direct us to do. We have self-control. That's what separates us from the animals.
Sure. Is there a male equivalent to that? Like the sign of fertility? Like, maybe not fertility, but like sign of like being a good mate? I guess that would be like being muscular or something, right? I mean, it's probably... It's not like having a big dick, like having big boobs would be. It's not like dick is huge. That could probably fit a lot of semen in that dick.
Look at the nuts on this guy.
Right. Yeah, having giant nuts. I mean, would that... Let me... Devil's advocate here, and I don't believe this, but what would you say to someone who says, well, the next step is men walking around with their dicks and nuts out?
That's not the next step.
I mean, I would say just one thing at a time. Let's do the boobs first, and then if that happens, we'll start worrying about that.
Yeah. Well, as our culture has changed, what we need in a mate to survive in this world is different, and it's changed as well. So a big muscly guy might have helped you out a couple 100 years ago, but now you really want somebody who's more intellectual, who's in touch with modern.
That's what you say. In my experience, that hasn't proven to be the case.
Yeah, some people's priorities are
maybe like having a bunch of guns or something, because that would be
there
like
you go.
Today's Robert over there says money. He gave the money gesture. I hope so, because I'm looking for like a gold digger. Yeah. I feel like there's too much of a stigma on the gold digger.
Yeah,
I'm into it because that's a goal I can achieve. I'll never be like fucking UFC guy, but I can go out and make a bunch of money if that's what it takes. So I'm not mad at that.
I like a man with a nice survival shelter.
Is that true?
A bug out bag and enough bottled water to last us 3 years.
I mean, this all makes sense though. I think this is all like, I don't even know if you're joking or not, but it all sounds rational to me. So I know that there have been like topless rallies or whatever being organized in Oklahoma as like a show of solidarity with this ruling. And there's of course angry men. Maybe I'm profiling, but I feel like it's more men that are mad at this than women. I've seen angry women posting about it as well on Facebook and stuff, but this kind of feels like one of those like men who hate women just need an excuse to start yelling.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a couple of women who thought it was a silly idea. Only one who was like legit kind of upset about it. And I don't know. I haven't been on Facebook a whole lot lately to survey the general opinion of people from the area that we're in, but it seems like just a general resistance to the shedding of some idea of morality that they have surrounding nipples.
Right.
And I'm not really sure if that's just an extension of misogyny in general.
It is.
Or
does it even matter anymore with the internet? Because now it's like if every 9-year-old kid knows what boobs look like, right? And I'm not saying that that's a great thing, but it is a fact of the world that we're living in. Every 9-year-old today has seen far more sexually explicit content than the fucking 20-year-old of fucking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair statement? Even the 20-year-old that's like sexually active does not even compare to what the 10-year-old is seeing on his phone today on Pornhub.
Yeah, what they could see.
What they could.
I don't talk to a lot of 9-year-olds.
You can't stop them. Me neither. Yeah. But how could you stop them? I remember what it was like being 9.
You just don't give them access.
No, you can't stop it.
You don't give them a device.
No, you can't stop it. Their friends have devices. You can't stop it. As like a 10-year-old, as someone who has been 10 before in his life, you can't stop it.
You can. The things are way different from when we grew up. Kids do not just like go walk down the neighborhood street knocking on doors, can so and so come out and play. Like that doesn't really happen as much anymore. They're all organized, like planned play dates with a beginning time and an end time, and it's all super supervised. And just, it seems like, you know, when I was 9 years old, I was riding my bike all over my neighborhood and neighboring areas. Like no one was watching me or keeping track of what I was doing. And today they can't. Everything they do is closely supervised. They're never alone.
They go to school.
That's true.
They go
to their bedroom for hours and hours, and nobody checks on them.
Their fucking phones. Okay, you say don't give them a device. I mean, I guess that eliminates some of it, but
yeah.
I mean, but they kind of need a phone. Although you can get them the fucking like bare bones Nokia, whatever the fuck, without the internet, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing too. It's like when we were growing up, there was like payphones and shit, and now there's not. So now kids actually need a phone. So there's that part of it too, but. You just can't get even the TV is getting smuttier, so it's like you're gonna have to fucking put this kid in a cage if you really want to shelter him, and that's gonna cause a whole other mess of problems. So it's like instead of fighting it, let's just put the boobs out there. All we do in society is try to get boobs. Let's just put them out there. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep Nicki Minaj away from the kid? You can't. She's everywhere. And her boobs are out, you know, she's not full nipping it, but
yeah,
close enough. So
what overall improvement do you foresee as being presented with this freedom and that's the buffet of boobs?
Okay, well, short term, I think there will be some growing pains of maybe like some hypersexualized kids, perhaps, maybe. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, we have like a generation of weirdness there. But once we get a few generations down the line to where it's normalized, I see a severe reduction in like sexual violence because we won't be so sexually crazy as much. We won't be as sexually crazy.
Yeah.
If we can just see boobs anywhere, we won't be thinking about them all the time. Which, I mean, from the male point of view, would really help me out a lot. If I could fucking flip the switch and stop thinking about boobs all the time, I would get a lot more done in a day.
Well, it seems like it's people's vices. Whenever you stop trying to legislate morality, you allow people to use drugs. You allow people to use prostitutes. Safely with some provisions in place. The desire to do so kind of goes away over the whole society. So it's like if we could just maybe relax and not make it such a big deal, then it won't be a big deal to the kids who grow up thinking that's normal. And
right. Yeah, I agree with that. So that happened. This story came out September 27th. This came out about a week ago. Now there's been a development since then. This is from September 30th, and this is a new story. It says Oklahoma City police to enforce local law after federal court rules women can go topless in public. It says Oklahoma City police officials said officers will enforce local laws after a federal appeals court ruled that women in the Sooner State, that's Oklahoma, and 5 other states can be topless in public. Last week, Fort Collins, Colorado officials enacted an ordinance that prohibited women from being topless in public. The 10th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in February upheld a lower court decision that the ordinance was unconstitutional. The ruling, however, only became binding this month when Fort Collins officials decided not to pursue further appeals. On Monday, Oklahoma City Police Department officials said local officers will continue to enforce the law as outlined by city ordinance and state law. Part of the Public Indecency Ordinance defines the term nudity as the showing of the female breasts with less than a fully opaque covering of any part of the nipple. That's how creepily specific. Some dude writing that law.
Well, it just makes me want to go get one of those bikini tops that have the boobs on it. Like, that's legal. It just, you
With
just
like
have a
you mean
picture
drawing of
yeah,
boobs?
Yeah, you just have a photo of breasts
photo.
that's like printed onto the bikini, so it just still looks like you're naked.
How does that work legally, I wonder?
Yeah.
Story goes on, says, therefore, someone in Oklahoma City who is in violation of the law could be cited and or jailed, as this is a misdemeanor crime, police officials said in a news release. So basically, long and short of that is that they're just going to keep arresting people anyway, regardless of what the federal court has said.
Yeah.
I wonder about the legality of that, given that I'm not a legal expert, but it sounds dicey to me.
It's like a states' rights issue where, the federal court can rule whatever it wants, but like, they can have medical marijuana or whatever, which is still illegal federally, but the states have been so far allowed to determine that for themselves.
Right. So I guess I'm just unclear on how that works, because if it's...
I don't think anyone's clear on how that works because, like, the way it stands, they could just come in and arrest anybody they want in the entire country that has marijuana, but they aren't. But they have the right to do that, but they're not doing it.
Well, this is kind of the opposite, because that's a case of like something's illegal federally, but legal state in the state, and then this is a situation where something is illegal in the state and legal according to the federal court. So
it
it's
goes
kind of
both ways.
It's the inverse of that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Bottom line, I'm for it, and not just for the awesome benefit of seeing titties in public, although I'm not mad at that either. But I'm in it for the greater good of desexualizing the all-powerful boob, which is not only driving men insane, but is also causing women to be incredibly insecure and self-conscious about their bodies, which is also not a good thing. So win-win, I say. Put the boobs out. All right, here we have a story I wanted your input on. As a woman, it says this comes from glamour.com.
Mm-hmm.
It says Jennifer Aniston says she'll never stop coloring her hair. Quote, I don't want gray. It says Jennifer Aniston might have moved past her famous Rachel cut, but there's one thing she says she's never changing about her hair: her regular appointments with her colorist.
Fascinating.
In a new interview with InStyle magazine, the actress admitted that she has no intention of ever going gray. Since the interview was part of InStyle's October beauty issue, the publication asked Aniston about her favorite beauty tips and routines. Blah, blah, who gives a fuck? You're right about that. Says Aniston confided that she plans to keep her monthly colorist appointments until the bitter end. Aniston explained, I'm not going to lie, I don't want gray hair. So here's the question. This is clearly a gender difference here, right, in general, although there probably are a lot of men in Hollywood coloring their hair and not admitting it.
Absolutely.
But I'm fucking like Rob Lowe or some shit. There's no way his hair is that dark. So, but the privilege being that you can go gray and nobody gives a shit. So
yeah. Well, men have the added problem of their facial hair also going gray, so you can't have like a full head of luscious black hair and then a white beard.
So they just decided that men can go gray because it's easier. Someone decided
it's
that.
harder to hide.
Yeah. So they're like, this is too harder to hide. Meanwhile, if women were growing beards, they'd be dyeing that shit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, this is just a matter of like, well, it's just easier to call this distinguished so that we don't actually have to do anything. But how do you feel about getting older? Are you for it? Or as a man, I don't give a shit, but that's me as a man. So where do you weigh in?
I have enjoyed it so far. I'm looking forward to... I would like to have long crone hair. I'm looking forward to that.
Crone hair.
Yeah.
You specified crone hair.
Yeah.
So that's what, gray plus like a bird's nest in it or
I want
something?
to be just a witchy old lady. I'm starting to get a streak where multiple gray hairs are coming in the same spot, and I'm
you're
really
psyched for it.
I'm excited.
Okay, how do you feel that your peers feel about this? Your female peers?
Whatever. They do
They
whatever
don't care
they
either?
want.
Well, you're running with a crowd of cool people then.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with coloring your hair either, but you're running with a crowd of laid back
it'll be
people,
interesting to see if they, once we are, maybe 10, 15 years older, who's still trying to hang on and color their hair and cake on the makeup. It's like, we're all going to be 50. It's seems like a moot point. Like,
yeah, I kind of look forward to getting super old so that we're all on a level playing field. It's like we're all equally unattractive and gross, so who cares? I guess the male equivalent to this would be like if there was an actual way to keep from losing your hair and not like all the bullshit on TV, but like as foolproof as dyeing your hair is, and also not talking like a toupee. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about a real head of hair. If there was like a switch you could flip that said, I'm going to keep all my natural hair, you'd probably have every man doing it.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess this is just like the same version of that. The only difference is we don't have that option.
Yeah, I reserve the right to change my mind if I go gray in a way that
nope, you're locked in.
That looks
on video
not good. I'm gonna dye my hair if I want to, right. But I'm not worried about it. I'm fine with going gray as long as I do it in a cool, graceful looking way.
Sure, and I'm sure that there's people that are going to be shaming Jennifer Aniston just for the love of shaming and say this is sexist, whatever. My whole thing is I don't give a fuck what anybody does ever.
No,
I don't care.
She may find that she changes her mind because gray hair interacts strangely with hair dye sometimes, so she may end up going gray anyway.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah,
it's all like Jason Alexander, George from Seinfeld, he went, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he went through like a period of time where he was wearing a toupee. And this was like not that long ago, just like years ago, long after Seinfeld, long after we've all cemented the fact that he is a bald man. And it's just, in a situation like that, it's like, what are you doing? Now you're just like, to me, that's like, you're just making a fool of yourself because everybody knows that you're bald.
Yeah.
Why are you fucking trying to hide it? Let me pull up a picture.
As like ironically something that George would have a problem with.
Yeah. Look at him walking with like it's like you're not fooling everyone because you have one of the most famous faces in Hollywood. So it's like, why are you doing this? Who are you trying to fool? So yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe he just wanted to see what he would look like with hair again, and
and then go back to your life of baldness.
This is your one life, so if you want to get everything you want out of it,
YOLO. I feel like I'm probably gonna go bald one day just because I have that kind of luck. Like now that I've got my skin cleared up, it's time to start going bald. That's how that's gonna fucking shake out for me.
Yeah,
but I kind of don't. I've already like resigned to the idea of like not trying to fight it if that happens. How do you feel about bald men? You have any thoughts about it one way or the other?
Like I've dated a few, and that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. We only care because we make it care. Everybody understands that it's just a thing that happens. So
yeah.
And frankly, I mean, having hair is a pain in the ass anyway. I hate fucking combing my hair. I'd rather just not have it sometimes.
I feel the same.
You'd rather just not have hair?
Sometimes.
All right. Britney Spears it. All right. Here's something that you don't know about yet, I assume, but pertains to you. This is new news to me. This comes from Kevin Smith's Facebook page. He says, thanks to the good folks at Lilu Multiprops, whatever that is.
Oh.
What?
No, Lilu Multipass.
Still no idea, but it doesn't matter. He says, I got to see Randall, Jeff Anderson, Jason Mewes, and I spent Saturday signing stuff and catching up, seeing so much movie merch that's been made over the last 25 years. But even better than that, we talked about making a new movie together. It'll be a movie that concludes a saga. It'll be a movie about how you're never too old to completely change your life. It'll be a movie about how decades spanning friendship finally confronts the future. It'll be a movie that brings us back to the beginning, a return to the cradle of civilization in the great state of New Jersey. It'll be a movie that stars Jeff Anderson and Brian O'Halloran with me and Jay in supporting roles, and it'll be a movie called Clerks 3. To be great is to go on is to go far is to return, and we're all going to return to the scene of the crime. This won't be the old script we almost made a few years back. This is a completely new screenplay that I just started writing last night, and so far it's like a dream come true. After mending fences with Ben Affleck earlier this year, I was hoping for a chance to do the same with Jeff. So huge thanks to Lilu Multiprops for getting us all in the same room. But the biggest thanks ever go to Jeff for being receptive to the idea at all. This means I'm going to get to play with my two favorite in-action figures again, Dante and Randall. So, if you don't know, Clerks 3 was supposed to be made a long time ago, before the new Jay and Silent Bob that's going to be coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Clerks 3 was going to be the next thing, and then he had it all written out, and it was ready to go, and then Jeff Anderson, who plays Randall, just said that he didn't want to do it. And so that's it. That killed the whole thing. You can't do it without him. So after that, Kevin Smith tried to get a Mallrats sequel made, and that didn't work out. So then he made the Jay and Silent Bob movie instead, which will be coming out soon. But it was supposed to be Clerks 3. And from what I understand, some of the elements of Clerks 3 were put into the new Jay and Silent Bob, so I guess he's just starting over completely, writing a brand new script. But that was very unexpected news. Like, as far as I know, Randall's not even in the new Jay and Silent Bob because he was just not interested in returning to our world.
Yeah.
So he was always like the holdout. Like, he didn't want to make Clerks 2 either.
Right.
So I'm glad, because I always wanted to see, like, it always felt like there was a third part of this coming. So I have a lot of thoughts on Kevin Smith. I've been a huge fan for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And I've followed his entire career very closely. Through at the time that I jumped on, Dogma had not yet come out. So whatever year that was, like 98 or something.
That was, I think, around the time I became aware of who Kevin Smith was.
Yeah, because I remember being like excited for that movie coming out. So I know that I already knew who he was and stuff. And I believe I got started having seen Mallrats on television. So as much as that's the one that is always derided.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when Dogma came out. Do you know what year that was?
I think it was like 99.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds right. Okay.
So I've kept up with all the movies he's put out since then, like as they came out. I saw the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in theaters like 5 times probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then Clerks 2 was kind of a return to that whole Jay and Silent Bob universe, which Clerks 2 is like not as good as the first 5 movies in the series.
Yeah.
But I'll still stick with everything that he does throughout his career, especially in that universe. And Jay and Silent Bob are the best part of all of those movies.
Yeah.
So anything that they're involved with is always going to be good to me. But I always felt like we needed a follow-up from Clerks 2 to kind of like end on kind of a higher note, which I think Clerks 2 is funny. I saw that in theaters too, and I own that on DVD, and I've seen it just as much as I've seen all the other ones.
Right.
But after that, he did like Red State, which is, have you seen that?
No.
It's pretty good.
Hmm.
It's like not at all like any of his other movies whatsoever. And then Tusk is in the mix in there somewhere, which is also a weird movie.
Yeah.
And then his most recent movie, Yoga Hosers, is the worst movie he's ever made and one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But I'll always follow his career super closely, especially if it's in part of the Clerks universe. So
yeah.
Where does it sound like good news to you or don't need it type news?
I hope so. I mean, the way that I felt when I found out that they were making a Clerks 2 was like, oh, why would you mess with a perfect thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to go back and add more. It's perfect as it is.
Right.
Now that Clerks 2 exists, I feel like he needs to round it out, follow it up with a Clerks 3.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
When Clerks 2 came out, I was like, I don't know if I need this. And then I saw it and I was like, I really didn't need this. But then it's like, well, all bets are off now because you've already strayed the course, so you might as well just do whatever you want now. I'd like to see you do sequels to everything. I'm super hyped for that.
Yeah,
I need Jay and Silent Bob even, but
need a follow up on Chasing Amy, please.
That's probably the one that you least need to follow up on. But like a Mallrats 2 would be cool also, and a fucking Dogma 2 would be insane. I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, so it's good news to me. I look forward to... I mean, I wouldn't care if he kept making the shit until his 60s. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are like, man, he's too old. Give it a rest. Jay looks weird now.
Yeah.
I don't care. Kevin Smith's all skinny now. It's like totally different, but I don't care. who cares? None of this shit matters. People always go into this whole like, you're ruining my childhood type bullshit, which is like, who cares? Everything in life is just to distract you until you die. So stop taking it so seriously. Who gives a shit? I'm into it. It's good news to me. I'm looking forward to it. But that was pretty much my take on that. My issue with Clerks 2, for the most part, is like, I don't know what he was thinking taking them out of the convenience store.
Yeah.
That's
same.
like the most important part of Clerks.
That was, as soon as the movie started, I was like, well, if they're not going to be working in the convenience store next to the video store, that kind of changes the whole
you
thing.
Changed it completely
Fast food
for no reason.
Is nothing like that.
Yeah, there was no reason to do that, and they spend too much time out of the restaurant as it is.
Yeah.
So it's like there's definitely like nuggets in there of like dialogue and shit, like hilarious scenes like that. Like, I don't know how well you remember it. Have you seen Clerks 2 that many times?
Oh my gosh,
really?
It's been 10 years or something.
Yeah, I probably haven't seen it in a while, but I've seen it 1 million times, so I still remember it really well. But there's some good shit in there for sure. But they get into like a whole like song and dance routine.
Yeah, at the end.
That you don't need. It totally does not fit with the universe.
Right.
Which is weird because like if you look at the bigger scope of the universe with like Dogma, like you've pretty much already broken reality. Mm-hmm. But that was why each movie was cool. Like it's had its own universe, even though it was part of a bigger connected universe.
Right.
And the Clerks universe did not need something like that. So
no. It was overall that movie. I mean, compared to the original.
I don't know about that.
Compared to the original.
Overall, I would say it's a good movie. It's just not as good as the first one.
I was just going to say it's like too bright and colorful. Of course, the original black and white. The first one, I mean, in black and white. But so, I don't know. It just had a whole different feeling to it. And I remember watching it for the first time feeling like, okay, he is really starting to maybe cross over the line into being offensive just for the sake of it and not actually being funny, maybe?
I mean, in Clerks 1, a woman fucks a dead guy. So compared to that, I don't know how offensive a donkey show is.
That's hilarious. And it had a whole context. There was a build-up, and then the aftermath, and then having it mentioned in other movies.
Clerks 1's pretty offensive, too.
Oh, God, it's so good. It's not the offensive... I love offensive things.
Sure.
I don't want somebody to just say shit and then describe shit to me and then I'm going to laugh at the end. Like, I don't know.
Right. Do you remember, I don't want to derail too much, but in the first one, whenever they're talking about the jizz mopper and like cleaning the jizz off and stuff, and then that customer goes like, this is the most offensive thing I've ever heard. And Randall's like, you think that's offensive? Check this out. And it's like a graphic, like close-up vagina porn. That is hilarious. So anyway, that was good news to me. I'll follow everything he does. I've heard just about every episode of his podcast, and there's like 400 episodes, more than that now. It's one of the first podcasts. It's been on for like 11 years, and I listened to every single episode just about. So he's definitely one of my heroes. He's one of my biggest inspirations for even doing the very thing that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like video production part of it.
Right.
As far as like talking and stuff on air, I have other inspirations for that, but as far as like being involved with the production of it all, it was kind of his career that kind of opened me up to like, anybody can do anything. Like, this is an interesting thing to me, so I'll just do what he did and just do the shit myself. So
yeah,
he's definitely one of my big role models. So anyway, I think that about wraps this up then. So I appreciate you helping me out with this.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I guess I would plug the website and stuff if I had it set up yet. So I guess I hope you enjoyed the shit. Spread it around if you want, or don't. We'll figure it out. We'll keep coming with shit. We have a lot of stuff that we didn't even get to, so maybe we can get to some of that later or find some new shit. But either way, it was fun. So
I enjoyed it.
Goodbye. Do I need to sign off?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.